he's not a good fella. Never made it there.
How did you end up getting in touch with Robert De Niro?
Well, the cops that were on my case, I told you, became their security guys.
Yeah.
And he was looking for somebody from the life that can give him some tips on playing like a Frank Sheeran type of guy, a mob guy, a hitman or whatever. And they all said me. And, you know, and it's funny, too. I've said this a few times. It's a double-edged sword. They all said me. So I'm going to tell you how to kill a guy, how to get rid of weapons, how to bury a body. I mean, that's what you would think. But he also wanted to get the verbiage, the words, how and in situations, how would this happen? How would a guy, knowing he's in trouble, not just run when you reach into your pocket, or, you know, things like that. So because there's a scene in there where he's got to kill a guy, and the guy knows he's in trouble. So I told him how Greg did it. Greg used to have a handkerchief, and he would sneeze or cough, and he'd go to his pocket, and the guy would see the handkerchief come out, and he'd actually be relieved. So he'd wipe his nose. When he put the hanky back in, he comes out with the gun. So that was a little trick of his. Yeah.
A little psychological.
Yeah. I told him how we got rid of weapons, and all of that's in the movie. I mean, so probably a dozen things that I sat and talked to him about.
So what was it, like a one-time meeting?
No, I was with him probably 3 or 4 times.
Where'd you guys meet? Like, what'd you guys
well,
go
we
to
met at
dinner
he has a hotel in Greenwich Village.
Yeah.
And his office is right there.
Okay. Yeah.
So the first time I spent about 3 hours with him, and he was just listening to me. And I kept saying, Mr. D, you want to say something? I mean, you know, he said, no, keep going. And he was just listening and getting words and hearing about hits and from my book. Then the next time he gave one of the cops a list of things, and I got on the phone with him. Then another time we went back and we sat in his living room. We went to Scorsese's house one time. And
really?
Yeah, yep. And he had he wanted me to meet Martin Scorsese, and he had 2 casting directors there who were also listening to me. So they were all using it for their own casting reasons, you know. And ultimately, I was going to get a part. I didn't know what, and it wound up being a small part where I killed Albert Anastasia in the barber seat, which was a famous or infamous hit in New York back in the 50s. So it was an incredible experience. And then probably a month or so later, I'm in Nick Pileggi's house. And Nick Pileggi wrote Goodfellas, Casino, Part of American Gangster.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's the 3 of them. You know, my wife was with me throughout the whole thing. We said we are sitting with cinematic royalty. That's what it is. De Niro, Scorsese, and Pileggi. It was amazing.
Are you kidding me?
And then I met him twice after. As a matter of fact, the last day, I got a picture here I could show you. The last day of filming, he invited us in to watch the last scene. It was him. He was filming just, you know, a small scene. Just when you see the movie, you'll see that he has to put a lock on a truck, and there's significance to that. But it was funny. He made it. He tied a knot 2 different ways, and Scorsese caught it. He says, Bob, earlier on, you tied a different knot. So he had to tie it the same exact way. So De Niro went like this to him. But they're friends. I mean, and he went back and he had to do the scene again, you know. And
yeah, it's crazy when you think about all like the little continuity details like that when you're making a movie.
Yeah.
Everything has to, because in case they got to cut
Kelly
shit
got
together.
to watch him film my scenes true to camera. He still uses the old-fashioned cameras. A lot of guys use these new things, handhelds and stuff. He uses the big one that rolls.
Film cameras?
Yeah, the old, and she was able to look through it and watch exactly what he saw. So they would, and we did, my scene, when you see it, it's really short, but it's probably 20 seconds. We filmed it 40 times.
Really?
Once he got too much of a brick wall, and he said, people aren't coming to the movies to see a brick wall. He always got it. It's always, then another time, one of the girls walking by me smiled. And he says, what are you smiling about? What do you think, you're in a movie? She was walking her baby, so she couldn't smile. Anyway, yeah. So
what was it like going into Martin Scorsese's house? What and where was his house?
Okay, it's near Central Park in Manhattan. Very exclusive.
So it's like a penthouse?
It's a 4-story brownstone. Those are very, very rich houses. Yeah, very, very.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
It's a type of house.
Yeah.
They're all built together side by side.
Is it like on the ground level?
There's a ground level.
Okay.
Then there's 4 stories, but each one is your house. They're huge. So we go in. The butler opens the door.
Is it kind of like what? I don't know if you've ever seen the pictures of Jeffrey Epstein's house in New York.
Probably.
Where it's like between these big buildings and you just go in. It looks like a cathedral.
Yeah. This. I know what you're talking about. It's more. How would you describe it, Kel?
Can you find it on Google?
Yeah. You could. Yeah.
Katie, could you find a picture of a brownstone house in New York?
Yeah. So anyway, his was white.
Yeah.
And it's 4 stories. We walk in. I don't know I'm going to his house. I know I'm meeting him, but I'm assuming we were going to go to a restaurant or a studio or something. So he brings us upstairs, the butler, to like the 3rd floor. And it's one huge living room. Okay? There was another room the other way. It might have been a bedroom, whatever. But so we're sitting down. All of a sudden, I just start walking around. And Kelly's telling me, sit down, you can't be walking around. We don't know where you're at.
You're just looking around at shit?
So I see the Oscars. He has a thing.
Oh, no way.
So I'm looking at the Oscars. I said, this is Marty's house, Martin Scorsese's house. So I turn around. Who's standing in the door? De Niro. So he comes over. He says hello, sits down. Then Marty comes down with the 2 girls. And it was amazing. We were talking, and it was, a couple of times I cursed, and I apologized because I don't like to curse. I don't, anyway, it's another story. But, and I would say, I'm sorry, excuse me.
One of the, okay, yeah. Those are all over New York.
Yeah, and they, put my glasses on for the distance. Yeah, exactly. So you see the red one in the middle there?
That one?
Yeah, but it was like that, but a white one. It was a white one. So,
okay.
You might have zeroed in on his house. Who knows?
It just blends in with the rest of the houses. You can't even tell it's
exactly. But inside, they're incredible, and they're very expensive. I mean, very expensive. Nick Pileggi,
and those it has those like stairways that just go right to the sidewalk.
Yes,
every single one.
And then
of them.
there's a basement. There's a floor level also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a style from back then, but
yeah, those are cool looking.
Yeah, Nick. When we went to see Nick Pileggi, he had. We went on the 2nd floor, and there was nothing but books. When he came from upstairs down. He says, "My wife made me buy this unit also for my books." Oh. He lives in the penthouse. And that downstairs was sort of his office, his reading, his library. Yeah, amazing. But he had a big spread of food out for us. I'll never forget it. He says, my mother would never forgive me if I didn't put out food for guests.
God, that had to have been so surreal.
No, it was amazing. He's a very nice guy, Nick Pileggi. Yeah. Very nice. I call him. He always answers back.
Who's Scorsese?
No, Nick Pileggi.
Pileggi, okay, yeah.
You know, at the beginning, I was in contact a lot with De Niro, but he wound up with personal issues with going through divorce, and I think other things. Now with the pandemic, he's got businesses all over New York that got to be getting killed. His restaurants, his hotels. Man. So he's sort of just been. I think he's in seclusion almost. You know, Scorsese, I haven't talked to again, but you know, he when we were leaving, he made us come back in. Because his wife wanted to meet us. So we went back in and we met her. And then at the final day of filming, she was there. And she has, I believe, Parkinson's. I think that's what it is. So she's having a little trouble. But she remembered us. All these months later, she's very, you know, so and he's a nice guy. He was very personable. Like, De Niro's quiet. Yeah. Shy. Yeah. Scorsese talks, he laughs about, you know, he's outgoing. You know, they're almost opposites.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah. And the other thing I learned is that these casting directors, you don't have to be the greatest actor, okay? Because if you start watching a lot of De Niro's movies, his idiosyncrasies are always there. You know, most of his movies, the way he laughs, the way he look at you, you know. So when they're casting somebody, they're looking for certain things, you know, like not that he's not a great actor. I mean, because he's done things like I saw Out of Character, like The Deer Hunter and Cape Fear. Those were fabulous. I mean, fantastic. The gangster movies to me, you know.
He's got like some fascination with gangster mob stuff.
Yeah, well, it's been a huge moneymaker. It's a huge moneymaker. Right. So, you know, but, you know, and then there's guys that can, you know, go back on stage and play Hamlet, you know.
Right.
You know, but those, you know, those are. But anyway, I've noticed that. That's why you see a lot of the same guys in the same movies. Not because they're great actors, just because they almost don't have to act. Like in The Sopranos.
Yeah, it's almost like he's got like that brand built around himself where
Yeah.
it's like, you know, you just want this guy in your movie because it makes it marketable, you know?
Right. Oh, yeah, no, definitely. No, he's a brand, without a doubt. You know, he's in a movie, it's going to sell. So, well, he still may be in mine.